All right, in this video, I will be talking about the Assess, Teach, Assess project details and expectations. This is a project that will take place over 3 different Thursdays with Rise STEM Academy scholars. This is a field project. First, check this very important resource for this assignment. You might have checked it before when you were engaging with the phenomenon-based learning. At Rise, this has different resources about how to ask students questions, how to elicit their ideas. The depth of knowledge has not just recall simple questions, but also questions that go to higher order level thinking. So level 1 is recall and reproduction. You can ask that, but focus on also asking questions that extend thinking, that strategic thinking, and these have examples. So check out these resources. There's an interview plan that can help you with that for this assignment. So in your Rise Academy pre-service teacher group, you will first identify an elementary science topic, problem, idea that you will be co-teaching. Ideas and resources will be provided in class and on Canvas. Before teaching, you will first pre-assess Rise scholars about their understandings of your science topic. This pre-assessment should inform your teaching. So you're going to ask them questions and you're going to take lots and lots of notes so that you'll spend the whole week before you teach planning for the teaching. Then you're going to teach, and after you teach, you'll then reassess the same Rise students to analyze the subsequent understanding or learning that did or did not occur. So the project has basically 5 parts. The first part is the pre-assessment interviews, which will take place the first Thursday, February 25. The second part is the planning, teaching the activity, which is after February 25, and then the teaching is going to happen on March 4th. Then the post-assessment interview, it's going to happen on March 11th. The fourth part is the class sharing and presentation, which is on April 27. Each one of you, each group basically will prepare a PowerPoint where they will discuss the findings and their experience. You're going to use this template right here. Let's take a look at the template for the Assess, Teach, Assess class sharing. So you're going to make an introduction slide. It has your names as in a group, school, grade level, that the science activity took place, and the main science topic, problem, or idea that was addressed in your activity. Please feel free to make this PowerPoint template more visually appealing. Just make sure to include the necessary information. You'll be presenting some of the slides to your classmates, to the whole class. You do not need to put a lot of text in these slides. Photos, examples, brief highlights will suffice. You will be talking more about what is shown on the slides as you use them to guide your sharing in class. So in the second slide, of course, delete this once you complete it. Show us the problem or the phenomenon. So in this slide, you're going to show us the problem or the phenomenon that students had to engage as part of the activity. The problem or phenomenon could have either been the focus of your activity or one that represents a sample problem. Maybe you showed them more than one problem related to the same topic. This problem can be a picture, a video, whatever you want. Do not include student work yet. You will show classmates during student work and allow them to think about some of the thinking that may have occurred with students later. So far, just show us the problem on this slide. The pre-assessment slide. On this slide, you will highlight an interesting takeaway concerning student scientific thinking from your pre-assessment. So this slide can consist of one or more of the following: a photo of some student work from the pre-assessment interview, or a few of the questions you asked students in the interview, a sample response that surprised you, a sample response that helped you in the planning of the activity. In the next slides, you're gonna share with us one activity highlight. So share an interesting highlight from your activity related to learning and teaching science. It could be one or more of a photo of part of a prompt. used in the activity, a photo of student work completed in the activity, an example of something that did not go as planned in the activity, an example of something that helped some students have an aha moment, an example of something that you did but now would do differently to help science learning go more smoothly, an example of a visual component of the activity that helped or confused science learning, an example of a student response during the activity that shed light of their scientific thinking. It could have been correct or incorrect. So here, just share with us one highlight that you will be discussing in class, and here, share with us a second highlight. This should be a number 2 highlight. Then in this slide, you're going to share the post-assessment. You'll highlight an interesting takeaway concerning students' scientific thinking from your post-assessment, now that you've taught him or taught them this topic. This slide could consist of a photo of some student work from the post-assessment interview, and you can show us how this work was different from the pre-assessment, so there's learning gain or there was no learning gain. A few of the questions you asked students in the interview, a sample response that surprised you, a sample response that showed a change in thinking or did not show a change. And you'd be surprised how you taught, but they still kept the same idea. And then the last slide, as a group, what was your number one takeaway? Share the number one takeaway that you learned through your experience that you want to remember about the teaching and learning of science as you continue on your professional journey. So this will not be until April 27. We will spend time in class sharing your experience. There are some sample ATA PowerPoints that I actually did with elementary mathematics concepts that I'm showing you here. Download them and see what other students have done. And then the last step of the ATA project is basically the analysis and write-up. So let's go over each step here. The pre-assessment, in conjunction with me, you'll select a science topic that you and your peers will be able to plan and teach. Ideally, this topic would involve new content and not just be a review of material that they've already learned. Identify the core concepts, procedures, prior knowledge, and science vocabulary that will be targeted. Now you will plan and conduct a pre-assessment with each child separately. So you're not going to be interviewing all of them together. So let's say you're 3 in your PST group and you have 5 kids. Maybe one of you can interview 2 together, one can interview 1, then we have 2. So try to not interview them. You can interview 2 at a time, but not more than 2 at a time. So your goal is not to teach them at this phase. Your goal is not to correct their responses, but to probe their understanding of the topic you will teach, including the most important prerequisites, concepts, and procedures. This assessment should take roughly 10 minutes per child. Be prepared with a wide variety of questions that will help you find the edges of each student's knowledge about your topic. Remember, you're asking them questions in order to inform your teaching. You may choose to use materials if you want, and if you want specific kinds of materials related to your problem, I can help you find and get the materials. Remember that you want to understand their students' background knowledge, and you want to position yourself to make claims about students' growth. So you might not use every questions with all students. It depends on the answers. Sometimes the best question is a command, such as show me how you would do something. Of course, do not audio or video record the assessment, but jot down as many notes as possible, both during and after the assessment, so you have a record of what the students' responses were. Consider starting the assessment by letting the students know that this is not a test and that you're going to just ask them some questions that will help you better teach your activity. Reassure them that it's okay if they're not sure how to answer some of the questions you ask. Reassure them that it's okay to say, I don't know. Keep any written work that is done by the students for these pre-assessments. So now that the pre-assessment on Thursday, February 25th is done, you're going to spend time before March 4th to plan to teach. So plan an activity that will build on and extend students' understanding of your topic in a meaningful way. Your students need to be actively thinking during the activity. You're not going to be submitting any lesson plan. You're going to teach the activity, but make sure to have notes, planned notes for yourself. Of course, we will talk together. You don't have actually a cooperating teacher because you're the teacher for this group, but I will be meeting with every group before you're teaching to finalize your plan. As you're teaching, jot notes to yourself about student science thinking during the activity, as well as aspect of the activity that could be improved. And this is a lot of planning together. Now, the last part is on Thursday, March 11. After teaching the activity, you're going to conduct separate follow-up assessments with each of your original students. So if one of you, let's say I interviewed these two kids, Sarah and John, I want to interview them again, the same PST, interviewing the same kids. During the assessments, you should ask questions similar to those you asked in the first assessment, so that you can assess the teaching and learning that occurred during your activity. Give careful attention to students' growth in understanding of the concepts and procedures that you intended to teach in the activity. You might also find it interesting to ask the students what they thought your activity was about. You'd be surprised the times where they might not have gotten it. Or you can ask them if they liked it, or if they struggled, what they struggled with during the activity. And again, do not audio or video record the assessment, but write down as many notes as possible, both during and after the assessment, so you have a record of what the students' responses were. Keep any written work that is done by the student. If they drew something, have them take a screenshot or a picture of it and send it to you. Part 4 is the class sharing presentation. As I said, it's the PowerPoint. Each group will have roughly 10 minutes to share and discuss parts of their ATA findings. The focus here should be on student thinking about science. Do not just tell us what you did. Briefly discuss the student's scientific thinking related to the science concepts you assessed or taught. Engage us in thinking about the science you taught and how your students thought about it. Share the students' work, discuss what you noticed, and possibly discuss something that surprised you, or a challenge you encountered, or a question you grappled with as a result of this experience. And then the last one is the project analysis write-up, which won't be due until the end of the semester, May 7th at midnight. Includes steps, includes student work when applicable. As a group, you will complete this one version of this and submit it together. And these are each step here, the pre-assessment, and I tell you the page limit. I'm not too crazy about page limit, but if I tell you 1 to 3 pages, that doesn't mean you should submit just half a paragraph, and it doesn't mean that you should submit 10 pages. I'm just thinking about, I'm giving you an idea of what it should include, and I have ideas here in specific directions on each step. These are tips. Read them carefully on Canvas. Tips when interviewing students. Sometimes it's really difficult to get answers from kids. So again, there are resources, excuse me, and ways that you can help yourself to ask questions. Learn the students' names before you teach the activity. Be very clear with directions if you want them to work on something alone. It's okay if they are talking together in a breakout room. Just make sure they're on task. Watch your wait time. When you ask a question, count to 5 in your head before you expect an answer. Carefully plan key questions. Don't just, wing it during the interview. Having students indicate agreement or disagreement, use the emoji Zoom thing, the thumbs up or the confused face, just to make sure that they get it. And this is a rubric that I will be using for this project. And again, We'll be talking about this more in class. We will be working throughout the semester with this. This is a great experience for you to actually know where the students are before you plan and teach, and to learn that sometimes you teach and not everything that you've expected happens, which is absolutely okay. I really hope that you will benefit from this activity. It's not just an assignment per se, because it will be happening every Thursday during class time, but it's a personal growth experience for you. And again, if you have any questions, please email me or text me.